Welcome to our channel. Today we are going to tell you a story shrouded in mystery and mysticism. This is the story of the last man to be beheaded on the famous Tower Hill and the mysteries that surrounded his death. This story will take us back to the 18th century, a time of power struggles and fates that were decided on the plaque. Did you know that the very last man whose head was beheaded on Tower Hill was Simon Fraser, 11th Lord Lovat, also known as the Old Fox? His execution was not only a tragedy, but also a real spectacle, attracting many spectators. Yet despite such publicity, his death created a series of mysteries that remained unsolved for many years. Simon Fraser was one of the most colorful and controversial characters of his time. He became one of the key leaders of the Jacobite rebellion, a movement to restore descendants of the House of Stuart to the British throne. Lovat fought to restore Stuart royalty, supporting Charles Edward Stuart, who was described as the young pretender to the throne. However, his army suffered a crushing defeat at the Battle of Coffin, a decisive moment for the whole rebellion. Simon Fraser was then captured, and his journey led him to the famous Tower of London. The legends of the tower are full of dark secrets, and the very fact that Lovat found himself imprisoned there only added to the mystical tension of his fate. After a long trial in which he was accused of treason and treachery, he was given a death sentence, death for trying to change the course of history. On April 9, 1747, the day of his execution, thousands of people gathered on Tower Hill. The event was unusual even by the standards of the time. Executions always attract crowds, but in Lovat's case, the situation was particularly dramatic. It was a moment when public executions tended to become a spectacle devoid of emotional depth. But the execution of Simon Fraser was filled with tragedy and suspense. Interestingly, despite the importance of the event, his execution was not the only shock to the spectators. As the executioner raised his axe to deliver the final blow, an unexpected event occurred. The wooden platform on which the observers were standing suddenly collapsed, claiming the lives of 9 people. The crowd was horrified, but what is striking is that Lord Lovat himself, in spite of his approaching death, could not restrain his sarcasm and said, "Why such a fuss over an old gray-haired head who can't even climb 3 steps without the help of 2 men?" These words further strengthened his image as a man who meets death with extraordinary calmness and wit. The process of execution itself was carried out with unexpected cold-bloodedness. Simon Fraser was on his knees, ready to meet his death. He expressed neither fear nor grief. On the contrary, his last words came to symbolize his courage. "It is sweet and pleasant to die for one's country." This expression later became a symbol of his determination, indomitable spirit, and loyalty to his ideals. But Lovat's story doesn't end there. Everything was much more complicated and mysterious than it seemed at first glance. After his execution, the authorities promised that his body would be given to his family for burial in the family crypt. However, the authorities soon changed their decision, and Lovat was buried in the secret crypt of the tower, in the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula. This decision raised many questions. Why was Lovat's body not given to the family as promised? And perhaps more importantly, what actually happened to his body? Rumors of the body's disappearance began to spread almost immediately. It was said that Lovat was buried in a secret place in Scotland, in the family cemetery in Wardlow Melham. Nothing reliable was known about this, however, and the question remained open for many years. But in 2017, when archaeologists were excavating the tower grounds, an unexpected discovery was made. A strange object was found in one of the old metal coffins. It was engraved with Lovat's name, but when the coffin was opened, inside was another coffin, even more mysterious. This second coffin was much smaller and of a completely unusual shape. It contained the remains of a woman who, even more strangely, was headless. Forensics showed that the remains belonged to a woman between the ages of 25 and 35. However, how could the head of this unknown body have been separated from the body, and why was it found in a coffin with Lovat's name on it? These questions remain unanswered. It is not known if this discovery was connected to the fate of Simon Fraser. Were the woman's remains really his, or does this mystery hide another story, more mysterious than we can imagine? Questions abound, but answers are in short supply. Interestingly, a few years later, in 2021, scientists conducted an additional study. They exhumed the body of a woman from a coffin found in Lord Lovat and used new technology to try to determine if the remains were related to Lovat. The research has not yet yielded a definitive answer, and the mystery continues to stir the imagination. This case has come to symbolize many questions that have never been answered. Simon Fraser's mystical death and his disappearing body leave us with the feeling that it was all part of a grand scheme or an unpredictable set of circumstances. Who took his head? Why did the body end up in a coffin with alien remains? These mysteries may remain unsolved, but one thing is certain: Lovat's story will never cease to fascinate us. The mysteries surrounding his death and the disappearance of his body will torment historians and mystery lovers for years to come. And who knows, maybe someday in the course of new excavations or research, this story will get its answers. But until then, we can only wonder what really happened to Simon Fraser and his body after his execution. We will continue to investigate ancient legends and clues, and this mystical story will remain in history as one of the most mysterious of all. We hope you found this unusual and mysterious event interesting. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss other exciting stories from the past. We will continue to explore the mysteries of history, because for us, there is nothing more fascinating than unraveling ancient mysteries and stories that still remain unsolved.